Hello, ladies and gentlemen, the people that are on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. This is going to be on Spotify like any of the other episodes. Don't worry about it. We are going to discuss which group is this? Group B? Probably the most uninteresting. Like, I genuinely fell asleep. Like the story of this group, looking at Damwon, maybe some teams are going to lower their expectations over them because they lost against JDG, but honestly, who cares? Who cares? This was a game that didn't matter, and JDG did well, and it's not going to lower my opinion of Damwon at all. Whoa, what happened? That was not my intention. Anyhow, a lot of people just lower their opinion of Damwon for some reason. That's silly. Damwon is still looking really, really good. What makes Damwon good? They are the most precise team at the tournament. What does it mean to be precise? It's making the right decision at the right time. That might sound silly, but you sometimes see very silly mistakes from other top teams that you know and love. And when you're playing at that level in terms of activity, usually when you raise your level of activity, you also diminish your own precision. And if we measure teams by this metric, precision, activity, I feel like Damwon have found a very, very sweet balance. G2 last year, 2019, they made some silly ass shit happen on the map. Right? They were still really, really good, but they made silly things happen on the map sometimes. They're just, Wunder is inting, he died on side. Alright, That was common. Same thing for top esports and JDG. They make some silly, imprecise things happen. Damwon, on the other hand, is very, very precise. And Damwon coming out of this group being first seed, I think every first seed wants to avoid JDG. That's what makes this so dangerous. JDG, we're going to see JDG versus top esports, or against Genji, or against top esports. Wait, did I say top esports twice? Suning. I said top esports twice. But yes, of course, Genji is not settled and done. Fnatic is, of course, still in the running. LTD is still in the running. But we will talk about predictions later down the line. First game of the day, I think Damwon heavily outdrafted PSG here. I think PSG had some creative takes. I don't think heavily outdrafted because I think the only issue is just the Tahm Kench last. I think the Tahm Kench just makes the Bard pick way too easy. I think you can even look to pick Bard here. And then I think Tahm just makes his composition worse. Like, Tahm is not good against Ornn. It's not good against Echo. They're just picking it to prevent like a Leona pick, but Bard is open. So what are you really doing? Like, if you're planning to pick Tahm, let Pantheon go, and then Pantheon against Tahm is a better matchup than Tahm against Bard. I thought this was just the biggest blunder, because otherwise this looks pretty neat. Ashe, Kindred Syndra against Ornn, Graves, Jhin. The Gangplank, I like it, into Jhin. And I think just fifth pick was just pretty troll. Maybe you can go Braum, maybe you can go Leona, maybe you can just ban Bard. This was, of course, Damwon playing Ornn. I think against Damwon, you can't really let yourself... So you can't really let yourself not... Like, you can't ban Ornn against Damwon. It just doesn't work. You can't ban Ornn against some of the best teams at this tournament. Maybe against top esports. I mean, not top esports, sorry. Against JDG, that works. Because the mid laner doesn't play everything. But these are very, very common bans against Damwon if you don't play any of these. Like, Damwon is going to pick up 3 wins on the back of these champions. So these bans are not bad. You can also look to Ornn first pick, right? Ornn first pick is definitely an option, but Damwon, like, everyone has ways to approach this. I'm just going to hide the chat and just remove it. Some of the things I'm reading are really painful to my eyes. So we no longer see the chat. yeah, I'm gonna always give you guys a chance. And then if that chance is blown, we just move on for the sake of content. Thank you, well done, Watson, for the subscription. We move on to the next game. Rogue versus JDG. This was their big break, their big chance. And I think Rogue had a decent draft here. Very, very good draft with a lot of options in terms of level 1 and invasions. But JDG managed to snag a couple of dragons. They remained relevant in the game, and Silas didn't get punished in his jungle pathing. I think Silas, like the strange thing about JDG is the way they're drafting, like I don't know if they're just drafting because they want to have these champions as, they're champions if they win worlds or something. I don't know. Like, they are drafting in such a manner that is, for me, quite disrespectful. Like here, they're leaving Ornn open. They're banning Irelia, Akali. Like, what on earth is Akali Irelia ban? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Ornn is left open for, of course, Finn. It gets locked in. Silas, which is fine, into Ornn. I thought the idea here was that they're going to send Set, potentially support or something, but this is Set Silas is a good rotation into Ornn in isolation. I just really don't like Silas jungle. I think Silas jungle is incredibly greedy and risky. Graves Orianna, so I have the holy trinity of teams that are lower level but want to win. This is the box that we put Ornn, Graves, and Orianna in. They have the holy trinity of let's try to steal a win from a team that is better than us. And then Echo has the pick into Orianna. But Echo Silas together is not a strong 2v2. Echo can do fine into Orianna, but Echo Silas 2v2 against Graves Orianna is already tough. And you're picking double AP Assassin against Ornn. Like here, Rogue have already good champions into the enemy champions. Especially when you lock in Echo last. So here, Silas into top. Maybe you go, like Lilia is open in all of this. I'm not sure. This is just such a strange draft because I really don't believe in Silas jungle. I think even in this game, there were moments where he should have been punished, but he was allowed to, farm for free and reach AP jungle item. Silas is the equivalent of, like, Silas is very similar to Kayn in the sense that he really comes online when he has AP jungle item, and before that, he's barely a champion. When he has AP jungle item, he can begin to clear his jungle properly, and in the 2 games we've seen Silas, I think Kanavi has gotten away with murder. And then we have a Jhin, and then the Camille last into Ornn. Okay, it is what it is. This game, JDG just managed to snag dragon after dragon, which meant that they could always choose when they wanted to fight. Echo Silas Camille is tricky to fight against if you're individually worse. JDG just showed that they can brute force victories against worse players, in my opinion. But I thought Rogue, it looked hopeful here. It looked hopeful because their draft is honestly really good. They have a lot of invade options. They have, good scaling, good fighting. They have strong lanes across the board. I don't think this is, I think Rogue heavily won draft here. But JDG had a type of draft that if you're better than the enemy team, you can find opportunities with this because they managed to get Mountain Soul and then the game was just kind of over. They just show that they are better. There's not much to dwell on here. Some of these games you're going to notice that I don't have that much information. I'm just going to comment on draft because it was tough to stay awake. I have to admit, tough to stay awake. Usually, I don't run into that problem. It was, I don't know if you guys agree, but this was a very boring day of Worlds games. Especially when after PSG beat JDG, that was like, it just killed the whole day. Really killed the whole day. Like, I was recording my live reaction of JDG versus Damwon, and it is just pretty much me talking about the draft, talking about the 10 first minutes of the game, and then I kind of felt like it was over because Camille was super far ahead, and then there were some decisions that Damwon did that I disagreed with, some decisions that JDG did that I disagreed with, and then it's just footage of me sleeping. Just footage of me sleeping. And I don't think we need that on the internet. And I understand that these are supposed to be summaries, but I think I'm going to use this summary as just me talking about my predictions coming into the next day, and also what I believe these teams achieved and didn't achieve. Like, is it good enough, or what do we think? Anyhow, Rogue back to back. Rogue tried to do some lane swap shenanigans in this one, and Damwon just outmaneuvered them. And then eventually Rogue lost. I think something that they did well, Rogue, was identifying their weaknesses. They didn't try to pretend that Finn is a lane god. They didn't try to pretend that they are going to be individually better. They had some good drafts that followed the line of what the Rogue is as a team. And I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed it. Mad Lions did the opposite. I felt like Mad Lions and Rogue could maybe have a similar, level at this tournament. But Mad Lions definitely dropped the ball in terms of preparing the players for stage, and also in terms of preparation. I know we've gone pretty deep now into the worlds, and planes are forgotten, but it's a good parallel to talk about. Trying to remember this game, I just remember the lane swap situation, and then the rest of it is kind of blurry to me. I think considering the group that Rogue was in, I don't think anyone really had expectations of them beating JDG or Damwon. I liked PSG's approach too, because as Rogue, they recognized that they were worse, but they tried to shake things up. They really tried to shake things up. And Kaiwing did some very, very interesting things. In the next game here, PSG versus JDG, I think PSG had a very, very clever invade, and then JDG tried to repair, and then there was just 3 kills on the right side. Grace was way too far behind. Galio was also too far behind, and Ezreal Karma is not going to be a lane that is going to, dictate too much. It was a very, very clever level 1 from PSG. They predicted that the invade is coming with the Graves and the Ezreal and the Karma. Lux Q came out, boom, they got a kill, denied it, and then JGG were like, yo, we're not taking our foot off the gas pedal. We're going to continue to press here, and all in all, they invaded again when they probably shouldn't have had, and they fell very, very far behind, beyond repair. And PSG's draft is pretty juicy. Like, I know Kale is a good pick into Ornn and all, but with how, like, the elemental drakes and the souls definitely make it more difficult for Kale to reach that point where she is, of course, at 16, level 16, and she dominates the game. So that never really happened. The composition here, Kindred against Galio, Graves, is such a strong lock-in here. Ezreal Karma can do fine into Kindred, but Kindred gets so much value here, and she was ahead. And I think PSG just had a very, very strong draft. There's very little to complain about here. Just Syndra, Ornn, Kindred, Caitlyn, Lux. I think if you load into the Rift with this draft, it is tough to find exactly the right champions that are going to be super, super good into this. You'd have to have some very, very specific champions to do well. Like, this is a draft that works in a lot of cases. Very little weaknesses here. PSG upset JDG, and JDG showed some of their flaws. JDG is a high variance team, especially in the early game. They do some things that are considered coin flippy, and then they sometimes never back down. I think JDG's biggest strengths come in their decision making around objectives when it comes to the Rift Herald or the Dragons. If their flips in the early game work and they like to, be the ones in charge of the game, I still think JDG is dangerous. I know people lost a lot of hype for JDG in this, and I think they brought it back in the JDG versus Damwon game. But JDG and best of ones, I keep in mind these are teams that are not so used to best of ones. JDG had games similar to this in the LPL. And for those asking if JDG cared about this game or not, of course they did. Getting Seed 1 is a very big deal. JDG doesn't want to run into top esports in the first round. There's no way that they didn't care about this. Like some G2 fans gonna say JDG did this because they wanted to avoid G2, but honestly guys, I can almost assure you that no one is dropping games intentionally. Whether it's G2 against Suning or JDG against anything else. You have to be smoking some serious kush for that to make sense in your ears. PSG versus Rogue. I think Rogue, they were already out of the tournament. Some people were upset about this, but PSG just wanted to go out with a bang, and they get the Exodia draft again, man. The Ornn and the Graves and so forth, and this is a very, very try-hard draft with the Aphelios and then picking Braum into Thresh, which is Braum is okay against Ornn, but I disagree with the notion that Graves is bad into Braum. Irelia on Finn didn't work out. Irelia needs to snowball, needs to get ahead, and PSG really try harder here. I think Tank had a very good day, and River also had a pretty good day, which is good. I think the redemption arc of PSG is very nice, because everyone was like Uniboy, and Kongyu. People were like upset that they don't get to play, and I think they proved themselves today. There's this discussion about PSG being better than Rogue. I don't think you can really draw conclusions over the games that we saw, especially because Rogue, like the game they won, was off of like the back of some best of ones. I mean, not best of ones, but like ganks into the bottom side. I mean, from bottom side into mid. I'm losing my senses. I'm beginning to think if I need to really like reset my mind, because I'm noticing as I'm doing these videos every day that I'm losing some of my sharpness, and I don't want to degrade the quality of these summaries or these discussions. I don't even think I should call them summaries at this point, because I'm not really talking too much about the games. And today was rough for me. I couldn't sleep at all last night. And I feel like that had an effect. Just feel like I need to catch up on some sleep, But since this is a series, I kind of don't want to, let it go. But anyhow, the final game, looking at the draft, it seemed as if Damwon were kind of hiding their cards. JDG just picked the same draft that Damwon did in the first game. I didn't like this draft because topside, like here, I thought that they're going to fifth pick Fiora or Jax. I think that was the only way to bring back some kind of hope into this. But even that, I would favor JDG because Galio, Jax, Graves are lower quality than Lilia, Twisted Fate, Camille. But Damwon, like here, when you send set top, I think it's like weak side set top, you know? You pick the Kalista and then you pick a support that is good into Misfortune Bard and not Alistar, and you play like mid into bottom side game. But instead they tried to contest topside. Camille got a couple of early kills. And I think JDG made the mistake of playing for the Infernal and traded side, which brought Set back into the game. Set got Herald for full top tower, and he got Blade of the Ruined King, and Camille's kills mattered less. But all in all, JDG stepped up here because it felt like they played with something to prove. I know a lot of people are excited about Fiora against Camille, but there are more aspects to the game than just a 1v1 tournament. Fiora is a 1v1 tournament champion, and she needs too many pre-existing conditions to succeed, while Camille can create those conditions herself. It really isn't as simple as look up win ratios in 1v1s and, super server Fiora is gonna dominate or something. Camille has a gank setup, she is so strong in fights, her TP matters. Fiora could save this draft though a little bit. It's just set top and playing into top side, set Graves, Galio, I just didn't like it. And JDG showed a lot of fucking... I was gonna ban someone because he's really, really smoking kush. All in all, Camille, 3-0. I didn't like the JGG traded side. Jax into Camille isn't as one-sided as people want to make it out to be as well. It's fine for Jax considering the enemy has Twisted Fate, so he gains a lot of value here. But Jax is good here, or Fiora is good here because of the fact that there's Twisted Fate as well, so you get double value. But even in that case, I would favor Lilia, Twisted Fate, Camille to win. I think Twisted Fate into Galio is good for Twisted Fate. Like I think Twisted Fate edges that out by a little bit. I think Twisted Fate has many opportunities to win the game, and Galio, if he falls behind, it's no turning back from there. Same thing with Camille. I think Camille has many opportunities to win the game against Fiora and Jax. So this felt like a draft gap, and then with how the early game played out, I think JGG just got ahead. This is one of the games that I wanted to review, but with the story that happened earlier, it is what it is. I don't even know if I should upload this. Feels pretty terrible. This is a terrible summary. Looking ahead, Fnatic versus TSM. I think Fnatic is favored. I don't think that TSM is going to be doing some crazy recovery. I think they played all their cards, and I think that's it. Yeah, it is what it is. Like I don't think TSM is gonna get out of this group. The odds are really stacked against them, even if they get 3-3. Like they need to win 4 games straight, and all 3 teams are better on paper. Like TSM might play spoiler, maybe get a game when the nerves are off or something like this, maybe 1-5. But if someone told me, Yamato, you have to put money or you're going to get shot, then I would put money on going 0-6. As sad as that might seem. I think Genji is the best team in this tournament. Not in this tournament, sorry, in this group. Not in this tournament. Oof, sorry. Best team in this group. Even in the loss against Fnatic, you can see that they are better than Fnatic. As strange as that might sound. That game was so over in the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game, and Genji made it competitive. BDD had good control over this game, and I just think that the victory that Fnatic had over Genji is not something that they can replicate. They first picked Ornn, and then the enemy responded with Renekton and Nidalee, and that was strange. Like, of course, it's going to come down to draft. Draft is going to be very important, and draft might shift my opinion. But BDD really, really did well this game, and Klid also did well on the Nidalee. But yeah, Life ran it down. He literally ran it down. If you want to have like an in-depth analysis, then I reviewed this game and we actually, went through this. Even the fight where Fnatic ended the game, that was a good opportunity for Genji to actually claw themselves back because 2 Fnatic members were on Drake. Fnatic executed the fight super, super well. Like I think Hide-sang is in insane form. Hide-sang has crazy, crazy good form, and he has shat on every support in this group. Hide-sang's form is incredible. Just Genji's draft didn't allow them to have a good chance in that game. But I think some of the decisions they made were better, and I definitely think that BDD played way better than Nemesis did. But this is something that seems to be, in Fnatic's mentality. So I don't know what to think, in regards to Nemesis and Selfmade 2v2. It just doesn't exist. Like, BDD could do kind of whatever he wanted. He roamed top with Azir, he roamed bot, he roamed everywhere, man, with Azir. They completely annihilated their bottom with the dives and the plays, and that honestly set the game on a downward spiral that they couldn't recover from because they had too much of an early game draft. So that's my opinion on that topic. So I think Fnatic will lose against Genji. Of course, draft matters. I think LGD, same thing. Like, if they get a better draft, like we've seen draft being so important in these matches. Just trying to find, like, LGD when they won against Fnatic. Like, I think Fnatic played better than LGD in this game because they managed to get ahead. They got the Herald, they pushed bottom. Like, they did a lot of good things. Like, even in this game, Hide-sang smurfed. But the draft, like, how do you win with this draft? Like, they even won fights somehow. But the enemy is sitting on Ornn, Kindred, Echo, and you have champions that just can't deal with them. So it was very odd. This draft was terrible, right? But here, I still felt like Fnatic was the better team. And the same thing can be said about Genji versus Fnatic. Like, draft is so impactful. And I think the teams are relatively close. Like, I think the teams here are close enough for the draft to make a big difference. I think Genji is first, but Fnatic can beat them with a slightly better draft. Definitely. LGD are worse than Fnatic, but they can beat Fnatic with a slightly better draft. TSM, I think they are too far behind the other 3. And I think maybe, like even against LGD, they were just player gapped in this game. Heavy player gap. And I'm sorry, but I don't see where TSM is going to find some energy again. I don't know where the second wind will come from. It isn't the same as Team Liquid, where they can be like, okay, we just make sure that Code JJ is going to have an impact in the game, tactical, and Code JJ, if they're in a winning matchup, they can pressure into mid. There isn't like some clear pathway to victory, because I think Shie and BDD are really, really good when it comes to 1v1 laning. And TSM tried to play the drafts that they played over in North America, but it just doesn't seem to work. So how do you manage to uproot everything that you did to get here? And then just, come in with a new plan? It's so hard. If TSM win 2 games, I'll be so impressed. I think if anything, TSM needs to go back to what they did on day 1. Because that game against Fnatic was a little bit competitive, right? A little bit competitive. Play a mid 2v2 into top side. Go back to that. The evolution of TSM has been very disappointing in the 3 games that they played. The way they lost to Genji was really depressing. And then the way they lost to LGD was even more depressing. So I want them to, like, if we want to create opportunity for TSM in any shape or form, they need to go back to what they did day 1. Yeah, that game, like, they played well and they gave Fnatic their favorite champions, right? In the shape of Evelyn and Lucian. And TSM had some good moments. Definitely. They definitely had some good moments. LGD, they just don't function too well as a team. They rely on lane advantages. They rely on very simple drafts to rally them. LGD, I think, is just ready there to capture whatever Genji and Fnatic is willing to drop. Because I think Fnatic and Genji individually can compete with that. I know LGD has a scoreline of 2-1, but the victory against Fnatic I feel like is a bit of a steal. Looking ahead and closing the chapter on Rogue, I think Rogue, they were facing a mountain in the first place. I think they can take pride in that they stuck to their guns and they prepared well. I think they had good preparation, but individually they weren't good enough. I think if anything that stands out to me as a disappointment was Larsen's performance, because I was very excited about Larsen when it came to, this tournament, because his performance against Caps, which is the last we saw of him, was really good. And I think I was hoping that Larsen would have a more standout performance. Finn came to terms with his demons and played Ornn and GP. That it takes courage too. Not everyone is willing to do that. I think Hans Sama and Vander did very, very well. I think any form of the things that were exciting about Rogue came through bot lane, in my opinion. And PSG had a very good second day I think the first day, it's such a weird situation for PSG because they don't practice together. They had the whole quarantine situation. They're trying to get through play-ins. Like, it was an awful situation for them. Like, what a weird situation. And I think they really, really redeemed themselves on the second day. Tank and River played well. So I'm very happy for them too. In regards to Damwon, I don't think the stock price of Damwon has decreased at all. They are the most precise team at this tournament, and they are drafting well. I think JDG is also strong. I think they did some very weird drafts. Very, very weird drafts. Like with the Silas and the Echo Prio. I just feel like it's borderline disrespectful. And I'm very excited. I still believe that JDG is the strongest second seed that is coming into playoffs. And Damwon, I think regardless of who they face, considering JDG was in their group, they're going to be happy regardless of who they face. Whether it's G2 or DRX, I think they are very, very happy. Suning for me is the best second seed. JDG at 2 coin flip. I don't know what you're saying, man. Suning is first seed. This is why it's better to not read chat. The people on YouTube know. The people on YouTube know. They are smart. Twitch chat, man. It's a disaster. Anyhow, I think we're gonna just end the little summary here. Just a little chat about what to expect for tomorrow. I'm going to make sure to rest. I think that's the goal I need to set for myself. Still gonna post this as a reminder, to make sure that I get proper sleep. I appreciate everyone's wishes for well-being, for my well-being, and don't worry at all. You're gonna see me on the World's Analyst Desk tomorrow. If you want to watch this, you can catch it on Spotify too, just like always. I don't know what I'm gonna continue doing now on stream. Maybe some flex queue, maybe some flex. I'm gonna check what my angel is up to. Let's end the recording there. Bless you and bless your face. I'm gonna stick around, guys.